on a conquered planet, the harder it was to keep the population under control. Even with their sophisticated hologramic equipment that they used to keep their slaves under their thumb, and which kept the victims within the narrow 3D frequency band. The numbers also made it possible for some of the entrapped souls to break out of the prison, and sometimes the Sirians had to become very clever to manipulate a huge population into staying in the frequency of fear. When they found it almost impossible to do so, they had no choice but to vastly reduce the population of a planet. So King Anu sent his military over to Eridu, led by his son, whom is known as Lord Enlil here, on Earth, to explore the solar system and exploit its resources to add to the riches of the kings of the Syrian Empire. And perhaps to make his son king of Eridu one day. Anu knew he had to send a percentage of the resources they exploited to Orion as a part of the business deal, but hopefully there should be enough for everybody. The Syrian expedition split up and explored the planets in this young solar system, one by one. The scientists, who were in charge of the expedition, named the different bodies in the Eridu system mostly in Aryan language due to that this was the official language spoken in the Orion Empire. The Syrian lords parked their hollowed-out planetoid at some distance from Terra and descended to the beautiful, giant planet beneath, splitting up in different teams. The humanoid shepherds soon stood face to face with these peculiar newcomers. The Namliyu were tall and slender. But this visiting star race was short and stubby. This in itself was perhaps not so strange, because the Namliyu had met many different kinds of beings over the millennia. But these dwarf-like beings were different. What they felt from these visitors was alertness, surprise, but most of all, hostility. This was something the Namliyu had never experienced before, not to this extent. They were a little confused. The tall humans waited for some communication from the visitors, but they were only chattering between themselves. The humanoids found it strange that for some reason, this dwarf race seemed to block their energies so that the Namliyu couldn't read them. Then, as quickly as they had appeared, they left. The Namliyu were surprised, but sure the visitors would return soon. They looked at each other but then didn't give it a second thought and just went on with their business. There were some animals nearby who needed their attention. Other groups of Syrians were met by a tall species of reptilian humanoids, most of them females, who also had with elongated skulls. The Overlords recognized them immediately as being Aryans, and not only that, they were royalty, they could tell. The Syrians knew they were Titans, daughters of the Queen, and the rest of their people were of the same species as the Queen. Original Aryans. The Titans welcomed the Overlords like old friends, knowing that they were now part of the Orion Empire. The Overlords were shocked to find the Titans here on their world, but kept a polite conversation, saying they were on a mission and that the Titans were soon to speak with someone of higher authority. Then they left.